Well, voting was underway in Arkansas, Texas, and North Carolina. We'll focus on those last two. Starting in North Carolina, the Senate race there, the candidates on both sides winning their primaries comfortably, but the number of votes that Democratic nominee Roy Cooper got was significant. Over 50% more people in North Carolina voted for him than the total number of votes that were cast in the entire Republican side of the primary. But the real drama was taking place in Texas. There were numerous House runs there. The big upset was in the second district in Texas, as incumbent Dan Crenshaw lost to MAGA candidate Steve Toth, who is being very supportive of Donald Trump in the last few years. The Republicans there, the incumbent traditional conservative Senator John Cornyn facing MAGA current Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton in the Senate race. Both will now head to a runoff after neither got the majority of the votes needed to win that primary outright. But the biggest drama of the night took place in the Democratic Senate primary in Texas, where the current House Representative Jasmine Crockett faced off against State House Representative James Tallarico. The drama really taking place in Crockett's home county of Dallas County. That's the second most populous in the state. Redistricting efforts by the Republicans mean that this year, for the first time in almost a decade, there was no joint primary between the two parties, meaning that Democrats and Republicans had to hold their own, leading to a decentralized polling that took place there. That confused a lot of Democratic voters who were forced to go to different polling stations than they were used to, which caused a lot of confusion. And because of that, a judge allowed polling stations in Dallas County to stay open 2 hours longer. That would be until 9 p.m. local time. Well, Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, and of course the one of the candidates in the Republican side of the primary, he asked the Texas Supreme Court to strike down that order, and the Texas Supreme Court agreed, meaning that all votes then cast after 7 p.m. are being held separately, with their fate still to be decided as the litigation continues. The chaos led Jasmine Crockett to leave her election party headquarters, saying that she wasn't expecting a winner to be known this evening, but Tallarico is leading in the polls, having overperformed with Hispanic voters and holding his own in his Austin stronghold and elsewhere, but that will continue until the early hours of the morning.
Now, Donald Trump did not endorse anyone in the Senate Republican primary between John Cornyn, the incumbent, and Ken Paxton. Is that likely to change for the runoff?
Well, this may have set up a headache for the Republicans and the dream scenario for the Democrats. If Tallarico wins, who of course is currently in the lead, if he wins outright, the Republicans will be forced to spend more much-needed money in Texas in that bitter runoff that we're seeing, which has become extremely personal between Ken Paxton and John Cornyn. Trump refused to endorse anyone in this race, and some believe that was partly what led to this runoff. Trump said that he liked all the candidates. Cornyn is a more traditional conservative, but has voted with the president's agenda mainly in this second term. But Paxton is a much more dyed-in-the-wool MAGA conservative who is a bit of a star in the MAGA realm. Democrats believe that they can beat Paxton statewide in a general election, so they will be hoping that he wins the runoff so that they can flip that Senate seat for the first time since 1993, which would massively help the Democrats' aims of flipping the Senate more generally in November. Trump, though, is probably now going to be expecting a lot of calls from Republican senators to help him to support John Cornyn in the runoff to get him to the general election, where they think that he has a better chance of defeating whichever Democrat wins the primary when it comes to November. Otherwise, the Republicans may have to spend a lot of much-needed money and resources in Texas when they could be focusing that on other closer races nationwide as they, again, look to hold on to the House and the Senate in November. But either way, this is not great news for the Republicans, because they now have to spend the next 2 months slinging mud at each other ahead of the end of May runoff election, instead of focusing on their Democratic Party opposition and the messaging against them to the public of Texas as well.